Hello everyone. Now today is Saturday, it's the 20th of February 2021, it's around about 12:30 local time. So greetings to you all. Yet another video broadcast from me, yours truly. But anyway, thank you for taking your time. So last night I watched a film. It's quite an old film now, it's 1990s, I think it was 1996 when it came out. It's called Larry Flynt versus the People, or it might have been the People versus Larry Flynt, I forget which way around it was. Very interesting case. This was way before all the current arguments were cropping up, and it's about for those who don't know, back in the day before internet pornography took over the world, we used to get our pornography in magazine format, if that's what you want to call it. The rights and wrongs of pornography are not for this particular issue. Maybe deal with that in another time. The whole film was about the owner of the Hustler magazine, a guy called Larry Flynt. The whole film is about Larry Flynt and basically the court cases that he got involved with. I quite enjoyed the film. It's a bit dated now, but Courtney Love played the wife of Larry Flynt, and I did think Courtney Love was very good in the film, portraying the kind of woman that, well, I won't even say that. I just thought Courtney Love was good. And the issue, though, was freedom of speech. And in the film, freedom of speech wins. The whole idea, the whole point, because basically what happened in a nutshell, it's a spoiler alert, so here we go, it's a spoiler alert. But basically, Larry Flynt always courted controversy in his magazine Hustler. And basically, at the end of the day, he ran a false advert against the then moral majority leader, Jerry Falwell. For those of you who don't know, this is an American film. It's shot in America. It's American, so you got the moral majority. For those of you who know about such things, a Christian movement. Jerry Falwell was the leader of it. The Southern Baptist Convention, something like that. That's who Jerry Falwell was. And so Hustler ran a fake article on Jerry Falwell. It's basically stating it was done in the format of a well-known liquor advert, which I don't know and I can't give you the context for that. I'm not American, and it is a long time ago now. But they did a fake advert for this liquor, and it was running against Jerry Falwell, and it said in it that Jerry Falwell committed incest with his mother in the woodshed. That was the upshot. Of course, Jerry Falwell was incensed and decided to sue Hustler magazine and Larry Flynt. So Larry Flynt then decides to counter-sue and takes it and gets it all the way through to the Supreme Court in America. And so you got this, because in the first court case where Falwell sues Flynt, the libel charge of Hustler saying that he slept, had incest with his mother in the woodshed, that was thrown out. But emotional distress to Jerry Falwell was not. So emotional distress was awarded to Jerry Falwell. But then Larry Flynt then tells his lawyer to counter-sue Jerry Falwell. And then this was the big one. This was going all the way up to the Supreme Court of America on the whole issue, because anybody could see that it had caused emotional distress to Jerry Falwell, but producing those, saying those kind of things against his mother and himself. But the upshot was, the ruling in 1996, whenever it was that the Supreme Court of America found in favour of Larry Flynt for the right to even be offensive. And it's based on what the Americans call their First Amendment rights to freedom of speech. Now, I'm not an American, I don't live in America, so I can't really claim these things for myself. I just grew up where it, to me, certainly for my generation, freedom of speech was, for what it's worth, I live in the UK, but freedom of speech used to be taken for granted, that people were entitled to their opinion. Anyway, but I'm not an American, so have I had a right, so to speak, to comment on American issues? Who knows? But the upshot was that the right to be offensive was given to Larry Flynt. And he won in the Supreme Court on freedom of speech grounds. Which it's very interesting in today's climate, where people are so quick to take offence. You know, so quick to take offence. I've never known anything like it. It never used to be like this. Unless my memory is completely screwed. I seem to remember, certainly growing up in the United Kingdom, that certainly the older generation passed down to me said that so-and-so was entitled to their opinion. Didn't matter who it was, they were entitled to their opinion. And that to me is the issue, that people, you know, where has suddenly all this talk come about opinions being offensive? Now, I would probably find it, well, not probably, I would find it offensive if somebody said I've got the freedom of speech, you know, to encourage paedophilia. I would find that offensive, to be quite honest. Where do you draw the line? You see, where is our lines drawn? If somebody demands the right to speak about paedophilia as a right, then what do you do then? That to me is the issue. But then that goes into a deeper issue of says who? Says who? These are the issues that need addressing to me. You know, says who? Where do we get the sense of moral outrage from? Where is this sense of moral outrage coming from? And who determines what the limits or the scope even of the moral outrage? Who determines that? That's what I want to know. Because if you disallow God, if you say that there is no God, from whence comes your morality? That has always been my argument. If you do not allow the existence of a creator who's got his own set of rules, for want of a better way of putting it, if you're an atheist, you've got to live up to your beliefs. And that means that the universe is pitiless and meaningless, and the whole thing is run by blind chance. That's all that's going on. It's just we just happen to be a bunch of atoms that are just randomly bumping against each other. This is just pure random. This is just randomness. If you're an atheist, what does it matter what this bunch of molecules happens to be emitting into the air? So what? What does it matter? What does it matter if if somebody decides that they want to have sexual intercourse with children? What does it matter? If you're an atheist. From whence comes your moral outrage for such things? Or whatever the latest outrage is. Whence comes the authority to have the outrage? That's what I want to know. Now, I'd be very interested to see what people say, because if I would love a discussion about these kind of things. You know, where in a blind universe, in a pitiless universe, in a meaningless universe with no creator, no meaning, the whole shebang run by blind chance, what does anything matter? There is no morality. None. You know? None. That's the way. If you're an atheist, I can't see. Well, the only thing then you'd be talking about the evolution of species or something like this. But even then, so what? I would very much be interested in what people have got to say, because that to me is the deeper argument behind freedom of speech, is whence comes this offence? Where does it come from? Where does this suddenly, you've got the right to be offended? You criticise Islam, you're going to be offended. Well, why? Why can't I criticise Islam? You know, why is that suddenly off limits? You know, there were supposed to be, certainly when I grew up, there were supposed to be no sacred cows. No sacred cows. Nothing was too sublime. If you can have a ruthless attack on the Christian faith, well, why can't we have a ruthless attack on the Muslim faith? And I'm not talking about a physical attack. I'm talking about what used to be called polemics. You know, engage in polemics against the Christian faith. You engage in polemics against the Jewish faith or the Hindu faith. Why can't you then engage in polemics against Islam? And if there is a hole in the argument in Islam, then why can't it be pointed out? And then if the answer is, well, the Muslims don't take kindly to this kind of thing, you criticise their religion and they're going to come for you and kill you. Well, then that just shows, if that is the case, that they're going to kill you if you dare to criticise their prophets or their Quran or whatever, then that just shows the mediocrity of their cause. They cannot tolerate open and free discussion. So I've wandered a bit. There's a whole lot of issues here. And you can see I feel quite strongly about these issues. You could get sacked for some of these things, which is absolutely insane. When they suddenly, you know, they control, if you get sacked for having the wrong opinions. Because, you know, well, you know, I can't go with Islam. Islam, or I'm asking for somebody to justify Islam. If the Quran talks, you know, endorses violence against women, and which it does in one of its verses, then why can't we criticise Islam? If people criticise the Bible, then why can't the Quran be criticised? Something needs to be said here, because I for one have had enough of freedom of speech and freedom of thought. Because I think, going back to the Larry Flynt case, the whole issue was that if you shut down freedom of expression and freedom of thought and freedom to criticise and freedom to be satirical, then you're going against, you're shutting down creativity in the whole culture. And one of my arguments was, and then if you will not, if criticism is not allowed, look, well, I mean, I'm not a Nazi, I never will be. I believe that the Holocaust existed. I think the Nazis were disgusting. But just look at the case. Adolf Hitler refused to listen to criticism. Apparently, according to the end of his days, towards the end of his rule in Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler refused to listen to sound military advice and ended up ordering around battalions that did not even exist. Hence, they lost the war. Why? One of the supreme reasons was the Commander-in-Chief refused to listen to valid criticism. And that's what could be happening today. If our Commanders-in-Chief are refusing to listen to valid criticism, then we're going to shut ourselves down. This is not the sake of criticism for criticism's sake. If one can spot a hole in the argument, if somebody stands up and says 2 + 2 = 5, and you're going to get sacked if you disagree, then what are you going to do? You've got to be able to say, listen man, you're predicating 2 + 2 = 4. I have the right to criticise. So, anyway, And we were taught, when I went to university, we were taught to critically evaluate things. So, anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for the time being. Have a good day, and stay well. Peace be with you. Whatever. And maybe I'll keep doing this. I don't know. But have a good day. Thanks for watching. Oh, and by the way, any comments, please leave them behind. Leave them down below. Please try and keep them. I would appreciate it if you're going to make a comment. Please address the issues that I'm talking about. I would appreciate that, rather than coming out with issues that have got absolutely nothing to do with anything that I'm speaking about. What's the point of that? But anyway, thanks for watching, and maybe see you in the next video.